Welcome back to another episode of Lead Stronger Longer. If we haven't met before, hey there. I'm Stefana Johnson, and I don't know what in the world led me down this path, but I am incredibly grateful. And those of you that have been following us with my series with the gentleman next to me, Will Keller, you know your life is forever changed as a result of the information, the understanding, the knowledge, the truth that we are uncovering. And it is not a comfortable journey. But I think at this point, if you're going to lead your life, and I have always said it for 30 plus years, you've got to lead yourself first. It starts from the inside out. Now, I can say maybe I was a little glib about it because I thought, oh, of course, you're going to lead yourself from the inside out and be strong, and let's show up and let's live our bliss, and let's fulfill our purpose and be purpose led, and all of this lovely, wonderful, sometimes workable ideas to contribute to a world that we all can love and be proud of, and raise families that are healthy and strong mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that. That's what I thought, my dreams were, that to create and make a positive impact in this world. All you have to do is look around. Well, actually, I take that back, because I can look around my environment and the reality that I'm seeing, the beautiful day out, and my neighbors that I love and adore, and the people that I care about. And that's real to me. But then I see the other suffering that's going on globally. And you can't turn away. You just cannot, if you have any sense of leading something better. And leaders take more responsibility than followers. But there are some bad leaders out there. And they have really, the word evil is rough, but they have evil intentions. And unless we know and understand the truth of that, we're not going to make it. And that's a scary, scary thing to think about. But it's not scary to go and take action to learn about this, to understand it, and to then digest it, assimilate, and take the right next action. And that is what I hope this series will do, is inspire you to learn, to understand, to take the next right action moment to moment, because that's where we're at. But we have to act so much faster. And I had no idea how much of an emergency this is. But folks, this is it. This is it. That's all I have to say. This is it. So we're going to get to what Will has been sharing with us. Thank you for my rant. Thank you for being. Will Keller is the most patient, kind, competent, just good human being, good man that I have had the pleasure to meet and be introduced to through his work. You can find all about his work at willkeller.com. I hope you will avail yourself of his incredible body of work, his incredible knowledge, and I hope you will join us for the rest of our series. He's committed to be with me for 10 episodes. And in that time, my goal is to really open up some doors as leaders for our families, for our communities, and for a world that is worth fighting for. Okay, Will, thank you so much for being here. Last week, we talked about green language, and wow, that was incredible. The language of the birds, the language, just so beautiful. I went and studied the references you shared with us, the Brandon's episodes, and there is so much to that. That's a whole world in and of itself. I don't want to take too much of our episode and stick on green language, but I do want to touch on it. I want to get a little bit into the symbols, because that falls under the category of green language, that language of the birds, the language of nature, the language, our true innate language is what I like to call it now. I'm starting to see green language is just a label we've put on it, but it's your language. It is your innate sense and understanding of how you communicate. And we have been dumbed down, people. We have been led down with nooses in our noses and piercings, and we have been pulled down to the depths of hell. And we're living it today. That's wild to me. But here we are. Oh my God.
Well said. Great intro.
Okay, so we're going to, I need to say this one piece because something that Will sent to me this week, and I said, this is what we have to talk about. I was asking a specific question because I wanted some help on, like, okay, what's the presentation of how we can best communicate? And he said, this is the journey. This is the main thing. And that is, personalized practice. So I want to talk about that. And by the end of the show, I want everyone, and myself included, to understand what our personalized practice actually requires us to do, because we have to. Oh, where is it now? This is what you said. Sure, the rituals can be useful, but understanding the underlying principles is where the magic is. That's what I want, Will.
Excellent.
That's the road I want to take with you today. And I know green language
Fantastic
and
topic.
all of that. Yep. Okay. So that's where I want to go, because that's, I think, that's the door out. Okay.
Yes.
That's
Great.
where I want to go. I'm leaving it over to you. I'll try to keep my questions minimal unless it's like burning, and then, I'll speak up.
Cool. Maybe we can, because we talked a lot about symbolism and green language, maybe we can kind of just quickly, because this will create a great segue into, personalized practices of the language of the birds. And you are right. What we're talking about is the language of nature. It is the language of the universe, symbolism, synchronicities. So, this is really important. Why birds? They call it language of the birds. And there's many, like you said, green language is just a label, right? In the ancient past, language of light, angelic language in certain contexts, the language of truth. So there's all types of languages, but the language of the birds, this is a really ancient phrase for what we are talking about. And let's look at some of the symbolism of a bird itself. So all throughout history, whether it's Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Cometian, ancient Egyptian, Aztecs, Mayans, Native Americans, birds were incredible symbols of really many things, but of divinity as well, right? So this is why it's language of the birds, because of everything that I listed, right? It's the language of the universe, of nature, of truth. It's our innate language that we are endowed with, this capacity to have pattern recognition at such a high level that we can see the symbols, the symbolism, the correspondences, the allegories, the correlations in nature with events and all kinds of things. So a bird is really, it's an incredible animal. It is, one of few animals that can be on the earth, on the ground. It can fly in the sky. In the ancient past, that was, the heavens. It could also go in the water as well. So it's living in multiple worlds at any given moment. So you have the wings as well. The wings also represented the sides of the hemisphere, the left and the right, right? You see in the Cometian tradition, the Egyptian tradition, you have the sun disk, the sun being in the middle, representing the soul, and then the wings of Isis on the side. So a bird represents higher awareness, higher consciousness, because you can take flight from being grounded, rooted on the earth, to an elevated position for a bird's eye view. You can see further, you could see more, you could see on a systems level analysis, the bigger picture, right? And then a bird, of course, can see minute detail. It can zoom in. It has, the just the eyesight where it can do that naturally, but yet it can fly down to the ground. It can go under the water. So there's all of this symbolic representation when it comes to birds. Native American cultures, they had the totem poles, right, where they had multiple animals, and most times a bird was on the top. So there's all kinds of, that's a whole, episode just on birds. But what this leads us into, as far as in context to personalized practice, is understanding how green language and symbolism, it is a tool. It is a tool to develop pattern recognition, to develop higher awareness, to see what is going on not only within yourself, but in society and culture, in the world, from the finite events and details to the higher definition, the bird's eye view, the bigger picture. And this very much has to do with a personalized practice. Now, I kind of say, I mean, it is trending nowadays that esoteric information in occultism is kind of coming out into the forefront, right? You look back 10, 20 years ago, there wasn't, people really weren't talking about esoteric knowledge like they are now. And that's kind of a neutral statement, because there's obviously many layers of esoteric information. And not necessarily meaning that someone that holds knowledge of the Vedic chakra system, or they know the meridians in the body, or they know this or they know that, that doesn't equate to causal factors. It doesn't equate to the why, right? So just because you have certain types of information, you have the information of the mystery traditions, right? And you understand these ancient practices of Kabbalah, Qigong, whatever it may be, tarot, the runic system, right? It depends on what you are doing with it. And so you have the why, the purpose, the meaning of it. You understand the meaning, and then what is your purpose with these tools, with that information. So when we were having that conversation, and maybe this might be a good time for you to talk about a little bit of background, like what you were seeking yourself, and then I can kind of dive in and kind of break certain things down. Did you want to comment?
I want to talk about, yes.
Okay.
As you know, I'm not linear. I'm not on a straight line here. Definitely.
Everything's a spiral. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Well, causal factors. This is so key. Is causal factor the same as cause and effect in the Hermetic principles?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So right there, that's the most important thing for me, because I want to know the cause to this effect that we are living out. So the causal factors are what you said in terms of the why, the purpose, the meaning. Where does that come into play? So it's like the chicken and the egg. What came first? Someone had an intention, they made a mark, and then they caused that, so there was a ripple from the intention? Or was the effect something that we are now shifting because of our purpose, why, meaning, and then we're using in context all these different tools like Kabbalah, tarot, all these different things? And I'll explain it a little bit further, because I know you'll be able to distill this. Mm-hmm. I think and I do believe in past lives, I'm very clear on them and why I came into this life. I have been seeking since day one, coming into this world. Very, very early on, before I was even 10, besides having my own initiation of things that I didn't realize, whether it was incredible trauma, being bit by a venomous snake, and whatever. I have been seeking answers in Qigong, Kabbalah, Tarot, medicine, New Age, everything. And I literally have the t-shirts and the certifications to prove it for the last 50 plus years. Looking at cause, effect, causal factors, is this deep desire, I know I'm not alone in this, for us to want to seek answers. Are we seeking it because we are the effect, or are we seeking it because we are causing, wanting to cause, and so our purpose is causal? Or are we already backwards, already seeking these answers, and our purpose and our why and the meaning to what we're doing is actually because we're too late on the chain already, that we're now dealing with the effect, and this is multiple lifetimes, that here we are in this life. Yeah, we could go into, the indigo children, or we're here for the light workers, and we're here this, like, okay, we've heard all of that. Give me tangible, real next steps. Here's where we are, folks. Here's what's happening. Because you see how it's all jumbled in my own mind, in my own heart, and I'm trying to sort this out and be useful. I freaking want to be a useful freaking human being while I'm on this air. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, in a positive way, of course, that's me. So, I'll let you answer that.
Yes. No, you bring up fantastic points. And yes, those are the three staves from, I believe it was Socrates. Is it true? Is it moral? And is it useful? Those three right there, right? That can apply to really anything. And so to answer your question, are we the cause or are we the effect? We're both, right? We are born into a certain condition. And this is also subjective and objective, because we are each born into a subjective, a relative family situation, but yet we are all in this shared reality, right? This objective reality. So we are all, experiencing the effect that we are born into, but yet we are the cause of our actions and our choices, right? And we reap the effects of that.
Prior to this incarnation, then.
Oh, I absolutely believe that for sure. I mean, energy just changes, right? It's not created or destroyed. So the only thing we take with us upon that transmigration called death is our moral right action. 100%. That's the true experience of the soul and of the spirit. So, looking at, here's some symbolism in green language, looking at the Kamitian tradition, Ma'at, she was the goddess of truth and morality. And she had feathers and wings as well. But upon death, she would take your heart and put your heart on a scale. And on the other end, she would put a feather to see if it was balanced, if the heart weighed more than the feather. That's an allegory, right? It's symbolic, representing your moral right actions within that life experience. Were you a good person? Did you take the necessary choices and actions that were needed in your life experience? Right? So that's the only thing we take with us.
So
100%, that experience. And that energy does. It carries over, for sure.
Okay, so that's actually two things. Definitely, that should be a relief for all of us, because right there, then, in every moment, each of us leading our own thoughts, our own actions, our own, what we care about, what we put our attention and energy on. That right there is you taking back your power in that moment. And I get it. It's not easy. Oh my Lord, I get it. But we have to. So that's where we have to start. And then build into our lives a personalized practice to re-educate, to shift, because we are definitely playing out the effect of something. I don't know where the cause was originated, except clearly the opposite of what's truth and what's morality and what's useful, completely opposite. That's been inverted. And was that an intentional agenda? I mean, now just even opening up little doors over here from David Icke to, oh my gosh, there's like 50 other of those. That's a reptilian. And then there's this, and then there's what's beneath the earth. And it's like, no, I don't want to play that game. I don't, because that's not, to me, it's not useful. I don't know how moral it is, and I don't know how true it is, because I can't prove it. I can't. It's like, not that I need proof, but I need to have some truth and some resonance, because that's just like more, to me, controlled opposition. I don't know. And that's what's so frustrating. And that's why I really wanted I wanted more answers, because your first piece of work that I found was the initiation. And it was the catalyst for me to understand why I was suffering so greatly in going through all of the data from Mark Passio's podcasts. Deep suffering. And anyone going through that journey of learning, you're going to suffer. But unless you understand the piece that Will shares in the initiation and that rite of passage, you'll probably suffer needlessly. I'm still suffering, but at least I understand it. And I want to say I am almost pushing through. I'm showing up here. There's no question. I would only be here. I'm here because of Will, because Will is willing to do this. Otherwise, I would not be here. I've got 50 reasons why I could not be here, but I'm here because I believe this. I believe this is important. And I believe you are out there like I am. And we need to get it together. We've got to get it together, and I need some help. So, Will,
That's
personalized practice.
Yes, we all need the assistance and the help in the form of right moral actions. So that's the thing. And what you were talking about with, controlled opposition, I mean, this is important, because when you say that term, the majority of people, they immediately think of like, undercover government agents. And that is not the case in the majority, right? Sure, there are agents out there, but that's like an exception to the rule, right? The true controlled opposition, which is all around us, is the level of awareness that the majority of people have. The incorrect information, right? The wrong knowledge, the wrong diagnosis of what is going on in the world. The ignorance of people not caring about the status of the world, the condition of society, right? That's the real controlled opposition. Even influencers, quote unquote, people that are talking about certain information, they need to be judged by their deeds and their actions. What do they stand for? What is their message? Now, like you said, we need to ask ourselves those three states, right? Is it true? Is it moral? And is it useful? Now, if you can't prove that it's true and it's not useful in that given moment, or if any, right? Why are you wasting your time and energy with it? This is a serious question that we need to ask ourselves. Too many people are on that, that bandwagon on the back of the train, just taking in irrelevant misdirection, distortion, and static. So that's part of the shadow work, right? That internal work that people need to ask themselves on energy and time management. Where am I investing my time and attention and focus? And why? For what? So those are big questions that we need to get into. And of course, a personalized practice is our ritual, right? This is the spiritual path, the spiral path that we do on a day-to-day basis. Those day-to-days accumulate for weeks, months, years, and then the sum of our choices is our life, right? So it all adds up. It all starts now, right now. What are we doing right now? Sure, we're listening to us speak. What are you doing after this, right? These are the hard questions that people need to look in the mirror and answer for themselves. Now, one of the biggest issues is apathy itself. People are disconnected. They are dead spiritually inside, and they just don't care. They don't care about the state of the world, the slavery, the harm to children, to animals, to the planet, etc. So those people are also a waste of time as well. I mean, interacting with. We need to reach out as an influencer, as a content creator. I want those people like you, Stefana, that are actively seeking. And I don't mean people that already have the correct diagnosis, just people seeking, taking that initiative where they're investing their energy with the right intentions. And it's still up to them. If I can reach them, if they can come across my work, it's still up to them. Hopefully I can inspire or influence. It's up to them to take the action again, further, the next step. We don't want to be a stick in the mud, be, calcified in our actions. And that is, kind of the sum of the quote unquote truth movement or freedom community. A lot of people do have an accurate diagnosis of what is going on. They understand government and slavery, the belief in human authority, but they are calcified, frozen in time, stuck there, and they remain stagnant. So every level of awareness that we reach opens up more possibilities, more choices, more accountability and responsibility. So this is something that a lot of people don't talk about as well, right? If you know what is going on in the world and you choose to do nothing, you are held accountable.
Okay, Will, what happens when some of us are so intense and so we see this and we want to help,
Mhm.
and we're doing what we can? Do we go all in and ignore our own well-being? Like, literally, this is my life's work, to tell leaders to self-care and not just go get your nails done. I mean, I've literally spoken for 35 years and worked specifically with high-performing celebrities, leaders, and people who will go and burn themselves out because they want to create a better impact. And I'm at that stage where it's like, I also know I need to protect my energy in a certain way. I need to find some freaking joy, because that is what fuels me. That's what allows for my, for me to even breathe. So how do we balance that? I know from my experience and what I've been taught and what I've taught for 30 plus years, focusing on resilience and transformation and finding joy beyond trauma. And my trauma that I thought was like the end of the end of the end is nothing compared to what I have discovered and what I have found out of what's really going on with regards to the horrific. I was sexually abused in my childhood. That was a dream. That was like a cakewalk compared to what is going on right now in this moment. And being for like, and I'm not just saying that, I'm now knowing this because I've actually listened to firsthand people who have experienced this, were experiencing it, and it's like, what? So okay, now all that work and all my being, finding joy beyond trauma and doing resilience and really nice stuff. It's like, nice stuff, that's good, but I thought it was really, really strong. This is like a whole new thing. And there has to be some kind of a balance, because I know what I'm going through right now is literally like, I'm like burnout from this, and I'm depleted, and I get the freaking frozen in time and calcification. So I get that. I mean, I'm asking the serious questions, right? But it's like,
I totally understand. Yes,
oh,
I
glad.
absolutely
Thank goodness for you,
understand.
Will.
It's very common to come into this kind of information, right? To have the kind of the truth of the human condition, of what is going on in the world, and have it hurt really bad, right? I mean, blow that calcification right off of our worldview, how we thought the world operated. And that is what I was explaining in my rites of passage. There's a death there. That death needs to be embraced, right? And just like any death, there's a grieving process, right? And then you have to pick up the pieces again, and you are born a new person. Now, the personalized practice, what we're getting into, it's vital for your own sanity. So we need to have, when we have that accurate perception of what is going on in the world, we can come to the conclusion that the numbers of resisting the control system are not there. So rallying up everyone and activating the self-defense principle isn't really an option right now, unless you just want to throw the towel in on your life. That wouldn't be wise or useful. So the solution is education, right? And doing that through digital means, the internet, just because we can have the best output. Now, that's the solution. The other part to that is obviously your own well-being. Because if you are not healthy, if you are not sound and don't have that clarity, you're not teaching anyone, right? Your health's going to degrade, or you're not going to be effective. So it always starts from the self, right? From the mind, emotions, and the physicality, our body. We need to take care of all three of those so we can contribute effectively to the solution, right? That one solution of educating the public on what is going on in the world and the causal factors, and to activate them as well. Now, that's relative to each person. So when we were talking about personalized practice, a lot of people, they look to kind of ancient methodologies of, Kabbalah or any other type of practice or tradition. And those, absolutely, there's benefit there if you have, the eyes, the ears, the heart, and the will to decode what that language is, the green language within that, and utilize it. It might work for some people, it might not be useful for others. It is up to every single person to develop their own personalized practice, utilizing a variety of techniques, right? I'll give you an example. I'll keep referencing to me and what I use. I have a combination of traditions and techniques that I use, right? Some's Eastern when I get into my meditative practices. It's very animistic, the way I just generally function in the world itself. I am very close with the elemental system, right? Earth, water, air, fire, etc. I see this in everything, the attributes. I understand when I am too much water. I understand when I need earth, etc. Right? So I have developed a practice where I can observe my actions, I can feel my body, I can anticipate where I am going, and then I can adjust and pivot accordingly. So that's just one, small example. But there are, objective principles that we need to know and utilize. Mind, body, soul, right? Mental, emotional, physical. Those are objective principles. Every human being has that trifecta that they need to attend to, right? So if you're not attending and nurturing your mind, you're not going to be functioning correctly at all. If you don't tend to your emotional stability, you're going to be overly reactive or not care and be apathetic. If you don't tend to the physicality, to your body, if the body breaks down, the mind's not going to function correctly. Same with emotions. So those are the three objective principles that people need to understand and nurture and care for to be an effective human being, to be healthy. Right? Health, heal, to become whole, the path towards wholeness. Now, I get it. We are at war, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't about perfection. Perfection does not exist. The only thing that is perfected is natural law itself. Law, God's law, the universal spirit. right? So it's not about striving for perfection, it's about striving for consistency to achieve the outcomes that you desire and that you are willing into your life in harmony with morality, in harmony with natural law, right? Contributing to the solution. So that is the goal right there. And hey, that can be an hour by hour basis. It can be a day by night basis, day by day, week by week, etc. You need to think about all of those, short term, long term. And the only thing that makes a practice is action, right? You can know all the mystery traditions and their practices. You can have awareness of that. You can know them through and through. But if you aren't utilizing a practice that is effective for you, it's worthless, right? So to know and not do is to really not know, as the old adage, the aphorism is said.
Well, I agree, and I have more to say on that, because what I'm recognizing now, and thank you for reminding me, the death and the grieving process, because I forgot about that, and I probably need to go back and review your that rite of passage, because that is, I think, so much more important than I actually realized even before, because there's going to be a death and a grieving process probably every day.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that until what you just said. I was like, whoa. And then as soon as I allowed it and I spent that energy instead of trying to figure it out instantly, like literally during this time, I all of a sudden transcended and saw all of the work that I've done for 30 years in creating Yogalachi in my practice. How many thousands of people have said, Yogalachi is not a place, it's a practice, because that's what I preach. I can't be with them 24/7. I can teach you this and you have to go home and practice it. So that actually just helped me so much, because I literally was up against a wall and hitting death, but refusing to let go. And I think that someone said it, I think it was Scott who made a comment last week, and he said that I am just sharing what's going on with me in the present moment, and someone allowing themselves to see that. At least I can be a mirror. And so someone cannot go through this. Folks, I am in excruciating pain and I want to cry. And I'm sure I will be able to cry after this, but I also want to communicate, because deep in my heart, I know two things. And as soon as I say it, I think, oh, is that what I learned? Okay, then all of my journey of 2 decades in Scientology, and if that's what I learned, that the only way out is through, okay, I'll take it. And that, well, whatever, that other piece is gone. That we, in this practice of experiencing life, that there is an evolution, and the spiraling, as you were saying, the spiral. I think I can say this with conviction and with belief, folks. You are absolutely right where you are, in the right place. I know it's painful. And if you take the steps of the trivium, what's the trivium? You get the data. So you got data right now, and now process it. Don't process it up against false ideas, though, because that, I think, is the danger. Look at it, evaluate it, observe it, see it, use the birds, use the zoom out, zoom in, use the 50,000-foot view. Look at it 360 degrees, look at it from underwater, look at it above, look at it, use the language that is innate in you. Watch those words, because the words, I think, have been just twisted. Remember, it's like in the beginning was the word. Okay. There's more to that. There's just like an explosion of life force and energy just within that concept. And all I can say is, I feel like you've activated me again and ignited me to feel that, okay, this is it. In terms of the education, yes, okay, education. We are educating people, or are we sharing our knowledge? And if then we're educating people, why in the heck are we making them go have to find their own way? Does that not make sense? It's like, if you know the data, then freaking give me the data. Show me the next place to put my hand, to put my foot. Don't let me have to figure this out every step of the way. That's what infuriates me. And that's why clients come to me, is because I'm going to fast track what their results. I'm going to fast track them getting the results that they want. Awesome. Because I've been there. I've trained myself on it. I know what it is. Now, this place, with regards to this is the next evolution. No question, I get that. And knowing that every day may be a death and a grieving process. So you're going to have to build that in. This is what I would say to my clients. Okay, you've got to build in the micro wins and celebrate. So freaking I'm celebrating. I'm here with Will. And thank goodness he's patient. I don't know how long his patience will last, but we're going to go until he says, we're done. and then moving through this. But I need you to address that piece, because you said education is the most important thing you could be doing. And yet people need to figure it out on their own. To me, that's conflicting beliefs, because if I'm here to educate someone, I'm going to give them the right next step. What is it? Here's what it is. Don't pussyfoot around. Don't give me allegories. Give it straight up, please.
That's right. Absolutely. And yeah, you bring up great points. And let's dive into this actual process, right? This is also known as the steps of initiation, right? I talked about this in that rites of passage presentation, and I talked about it even more into a presentation that I did called Initiation into the One Great Work. It's a presentation for people that say they want change, that say they want to activate and get onto the battlefield. And I dive into that with a kind of a stepwise process, right? The 5 steps of initiation. Number 1, stop lying to yourself, right? This is that process where we need to accept the world as it is with the correct diagnosis and accept where we are in this given moment, right? As dark as that may be, you must stop lying and accept your 0 point, right? Your ground level.
I want this, but I have to address this piece. Okay. I have trained myself to not accept, because I'm going to force what I want. I'm going to force a better world. I'm going to create a better world. I will not accept. I will reject those lies. I will reject that nonsense. I will reject illness. I will reject poor health. I will reject, and I will create and only accept whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, happy, healthy, with the wise. All those affirmations, all of that. So right there, conflicting beliefs.
Correct. Yeah, well, that's the ego steps in and it tries to derail and sidetrack. This is something that you have to sit with and ask yourself why.
So why? The ego part of me that wants everything to be whole, perfect, strong, and wants you to be whole and perfect, and wants to do Tonglen meditation and have to put forth positiveness and goodness in the world. That's the ego.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. The ego is about self. It's about yourself. It wants yourself to be healthy, to be safe.
I want
to
everybody
be content,
I want everybody
to
be healthy.
Well,
I want you to be healthy.
This is the new age deception of getting rid of the ego. If you are alive, it's impossible.
I want me to be healthy too. I want
Correct.
all of us to be healthy.
Yes.
So it's not me and them, it's us.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, there's a balance. Having a healthy ego is that balance, is that median. Of course, you want everyone to be, you want their well-being, you want them to be healthy and happy, which is another reason to activate and get on the battlefield, right? Because people are being attacked. We are at war. They're being killed. They're being hurt, right? So, but that healthy ego is wanting yourself to be healthy, to be efficient, and be effective. The spirit resonates with that moral duty and that obligation to put yourself out there, to tell the ego, hey, no, you are going to put your face on camera. You are going to go public.
Well, let's not even go there yet. Let's just stay on stop lying. Let's stay on number one of stop
Sure.
lying. Because if you stop lying and you accept where you are, right in and of itself, to me, that's a lie. To me, right where we are is a freaking lie. Do you know what I
No.
mean? So I'm
Well,
like,
well, yes. Well, but you can. It's twofold. Yes, there's lies everywhere, but understanding that lying is that our reality, what the culture of reality and how the worldview is being propagated is a lie, right? So you can have truth there. You can have a correct diagnosis and have that realization. But mainly, the steps of initiation is applying it to yourself. Stop lying on to yourself the reasons and the excuses and the justifications that one will give themselves on where they are excuse me, where they are at and why they want to either activate or remain inactive.
okay, so in context to these five, you're talking more in terms of doing the one great work. Okay, which the one great work, explaining what that is
The,
again?
these steps of initiation are just initiation in general. Doesn't matter if anybody, it doesn't necessarily pertain to doing the one great work. It's being a better human being, right? So it's all encompassing. So, but obviously to create change, see, that's the question that people say. You have to ask yourself, right? Do you want the world to be better? Do you want slavery and violence to stop? Do you want to give this to your children as a legacy? Right? We need to ask ourselves this question. It doesn't matter if you're a parent or not, right? You don't have to have children to have that empathy that you don't want children to suffer. You don't want them to inherit the next stage of violence and slavery. So that question of, if you say you want something, are you willing to take the necessary actions to progress towards the solution? Right? Do you have the willpower to recognize and take in, be receptive to the objective requirements that are necessary for change? So, and these are questions that if you're trying to even get to a certain goal, you need to ask yourselves that.
These five.
The 5 steps of initiation are across the board for any scenario, right? I'll run through them real quick. So it's number 1 is stop lying. Number 2 is stop dreaming. Number 3 is learn how to think, right? So that's the trivium right there. 4 is live in the present moment, meaning the now. Recognize where you are at right now. And number 5 is activate the physical body. So those are the 5 steps to initiation.
I'm going to call myself out on this. I raised my boys to dream. I wanted them to dream, and I want them to fulfill their dreams. And
so, go ahead.
No, that's, I feel like, you know, one of my strong suits is hope. You know, when you go and assess, and like, one of my strongest skills or attributes is hope. I have hope. And that is why I dream and I envision something better. And I use tools like Neville Goddard's Feel It Real, or I use Wallace Wattles' Science of Getting Rich techniques of that,
Mm-hmm.
or Charles Hannell's Master Keys, any of those. And I have benefited greatly from that work. And I don't want to completely look at oh, well, that's solipsism. I think that's a blanket statement that all of that's solipsism.
That's esoteric knowledge. That's understanding mentalism. But the where it gets, now remember, keep the bird in mind, the wings, right? So when I say something like stop dreaming, there's a polarizing initiative that goes, right? Like you were saying, oh, I tell my kids to dream. And yes, but there's also an imbalance to that, right? We want to strive for the middle. So
These five
dreaming
don't
using
sound
the
like the middle. They sound like the extreme of the other end. You
of
know?
what?
Well, okay, so stop lying. It's like, well, if you stop lying, does that mean you've been lying? So if you're going to stop lying, when did you start? Do you know what I mean? And then the second, stop dreaming. What the F? I'm sorry. That's the greatest gift we have, is to imagine and dream something
No,
better,
but hold on a
right?
second. Hold on a second, because you're conflating imagination and dreaming for goals different from I know I need to act, but I'm dreaming. I'm in la la land. I'm experiencing escapism, right? So there is
Maybe
an
we need to. Oh, okay. So you're
unhealthy
using
form
dreaming
of
as,
dreaming.
you're using that as escapism. Then maybe it should be stop escaping through make believe or
Sure.
something.
Yeah, these are just words. But
Okay.
what they mean and how they are
Yes, they
being
are.
applied is important. The understanding, right? It's like
Mhm.
when I go through these, do you understand what I mean by each of these points and how
I
they
didn't.
kind
That's
of
why I had to ask you,
yeah, for sure.
because I don't want this
And
blanket
that's why
attack.
we're here. That's why we're here. I dream every day, right? I mean, dreaming is an inherent part of being a
Okay,
human
so then
being.
that's really important. So then I would remove that and use some other nomenclature, use some other verbiage than saying stop dreaming, because that immediately, I think, is I don't want to say confrontational, but it's like, what? That's the whole goodness of this freaking world, is to dream. And it's like, right? So I
Well,
just,
this is yeah.
if that was your final, like, dang it, come on.
Well, this is the point about education. Education, the word itself, the etymology means to lead one out of the darkness. Well, what is darkness, right?
Okay,
In that
right
context,
there.
it's
To
ignorance.
lead one out of the darkness.
Correct.
Boom. That's it. That's my work. That's what I'm here to do. And that's, I mean, rhetorically, that's our work to hear. That's what we're here to do. If we know how to get out of the darkness, or it's the blind leading the blind, or it's the evil leading the stupid, or I guess the sheep and all of that. Okay. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. Oh.
Yes. Stop dreaming is that right there. You literally can put the New Age movement right in there. That's the whole New Age movement. An imbalanced, unhealthy dreaming. That's what that is. So all about they they're in that opposite end of polarity where
I
it's
get
all
it.
about oneness. It's all about just about the self.
Not just about that, but also the mentalism, that what you think and believe is what will be true. So does that not go back to the hermetics of the first point of mentalism, the first point of that everything is mental? You see?
Yes,
and
everything
and
is
then
mental, but
lying even
everything
on truth.
that you think or believe it does not equate to truth. So that's where the New Age movement it's all about belief. It's just everything is about the relative experience. And you can believe what you can believe, I can believe what I believe, etc. Your truth, my truth, right? So they're missing a huge part. Now, a lot of but this is where the aggregation and a better word is distillation of knowledge and information is important. When we were having that conversation, I was saying Mark Passio right there. He's the one that has taken all of the mystery traditions, the Western, a lot of the Eastern as well, and he has distilled it down to the core principles that are applicable for the modern age. That's why his work is so empowering and so important, right? So we can use techniques and practices that are ancient, right? But they might not apply that well in the modern age. I don't
Well,
need to hold a cup and a blade and a chalice to
right.
invoke certain energy.
Hmm.
Do you understand what my meaning?
Well, not, no, I don't. Why don't you explain that? I
I
mean, in
don't
terms of magic, doing magic tricks, doing
sure like
magic
a
things. Yeah,
magic ritual, right? I don't
right.
necessarily right. It's not a requirement like that I have to have a pentagram on the ground that I have to be facing a certain direction. I have to have a blade in my left hand and a chalice or a cup in my right hand. Those are just symbols to get the mind to tap into a certain energy, a certain thought pattern. You can do that with anything. You can do that with just the mind itself through practice.
That was education to me. That was my education right there, Will, what you just said. Because now that lets me know, turning and going into that path and practicing a bunch of rituals and getting all these sigils and making all this and making all that and doing incense and doing this, like, that's just another, maybe a distraction. Maybe.
It depends if it's useful for you.
Yeah. Is it useful?
That's what it comes down. I mean,
okay, so then that's what we have to ask our questions, folks. We have to always ask, is it useful? Is it true? What was the other one that was so good?
Is it moral?
Is it moral? Exactly. My God, exactly. So they go and sacrifice an animal or a human. That is not moral, doing that ritual or that practice. Okay.
That would be a dark arts practice.
Which is what we see, what we're seeing. Okay.
Correct. All of society is one giant dark occult ritual. Why? How do we know that? Because we can observe the violence, right? The tyranny, the coercion, the duress, the death. We can observe all of that going on. Stop dreaming would be, well, it's always been like this. We need government. We need this. It's not that bad. I'm okay in my bubble. That stuff doesn't happen to me, so it doesn't exist.
Again, better word. We have to have the more appropriate word for that, because that's delusional. That's Absolutely. Delusional. It's not dreaming. Okay. So I'll leave it at that, but I had a question for you.
Okay.
That just slipped away. That's why I have to write things down. Okay, maybe it'll come back. But I don't have it right now.
You know, there's statements that we can. I love writing things down. I love journaling. I love whiteboards. I know you like whiteboards. There's extreme power in using these tools, and it's very effective for me. So doing that internal work, right, of stop lying to yourself, stop engaging in escapism. That might be a better way to say it, right? We can ask ourselves the hard questions. So I'm not blank enough to contribute to the solution or to activate. I don't know how to blank.
I think that's too far. That's like, those are questions like people aren't even ready to say, like, I'm too this, I'm too that. It's like, they're still freaking distilling all this freaking information. I like to ask that question. I'm to this, I'm to that. It's like freaking, I need to distill the information, unless you're talking about someone who's been doing it a lot and they're still, but
I was referring to someone that has this information but has not activated yet. The question comes down to is, once one activates, meaning making educational content to the public, right? Who are they directing that to? Like, you have your demographic of these, high class business owners, these CEOs. Like, that is your demographic. You are the one that needs to work out the angle and the type of education you are going to bring to them.
Right. Okay.
Like my motto, simplify the profound. Like I have that motto, and that motto is directed for certain types of people.
Well, I'm not even ready for that yet. I am just showing up to learn right now. So,
sure.
So even though I'm putting this on this quote unquote podcast, I mean, I'm not even going to go there in the marketing and all. I'm not even going to go there because
I was giving you an example because we were talking about the
I love it, and I'm not saying it specifically back to you. It's more around this specific. It goes back to the cause and effect, Will. I have the piece of data that we are all one. Is that true? Is that datum true? We are all one.
In the big picture, in the macro, it is. But as above, so below, as within, so without. There's correspondence there. So, yes, in the big grand scheme of things, we all are one and interconnected. Now, how much does that apply in our given moment having this subjective experience? Not that much.
But
Just a little
doesn't it
bit.
in the causal factors? Because
Correct.
at some point we were the cause point of creating what we are now the effect of.
That's correct. And we influence each other. Yes.
Okay.
But it's good to understand both.
So then
Right?
would we go back to the causal point, to the original source of the cause, to clean that up, to the original point where there was a lie, where there was an immoral action, because we can only clean it up at the source. And we've gone around this before in multiple in our previous, because that's where my mind goes.
That's the source. Right now, your mind. There's no going back to the past. You are the source of your thoughts right now. All there is now and what you do now to the future.
But
the past is available information. That's all it is. That's why it's good to understand the past, your past habits, any type of events that you had within your life, to understand those, to understand the why and the how and the what of those events. It's good to understand that in society and in the world to the best of our ability. That is available information. The source is always now in the mind.
The source is always now in the mind. Okay.
Yes.
Take that datum. And then, is this datum incorrect? That there is nothing linear. There's no past, there's no future, there is only now.
Correct. It's all together. All three is one.
So then why couldn't we go to the now that created that immoral, lie, unuseful thought, action, whatever?
Because the effect already happened.
Which is now.
Correct.
Okay. What do you know about quantum in terms of actually, you must know it because Mark did a whole thing on the split.
Double
From
blind
what
slit
the
experiment.
bleep. Yeah, yes, exactly. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yes, very much.
Okay. So you say source right here now. Yet it's the observer that changes everything. No? I need help understanding that.
Okay. Without opening a huge can of worms, all the quantum stuff is absolutely a psyop and misdirection. Even the double blind slit experiment is a huge misdirection. The interpretation of that experiment is very incorrect. Quantum itself, right? It goes back. This is during, a little bit before Einstein, right? Einstein was the one that kind of propagated the quantum, right? Gave it a boost. Even Nikola Tesla and Dr. Walter Russell completely obliterated quantum theory, quantum mechanics, all of that. Quantum itself, the word means amount, right? So that it's rooted in relativism. It's rooted in solipsism itself. When you remove the ether, you replace that with quantum. That's what they have done.
Okay, this is so important. I don't remember that being discussed in Mark's podcast. In fact, he was attributing that specific movie. So this is so freaking huge, Will. What you just said, so freaking huge. My mind is like, okay, I want to go there. I want to learn this. I want to understand this because I have been applying and using the what the bleep don't we know, what the bleep all, I've been down that rabbit hole, and the whole thing with quantum and the observer changes and the perception and all of that. So all of that's BS.
Yes, it's all rooted in atomism, right? Atomism being a pseudo or a religious belief of materialism and particles, right? So this is where it's ultimately rooted in, and it completely extinguishes the ether itself.
Folks, I don't know about you, but holy smoke, we have to, whoa, yeah, I'm going to read the chat here. Faith equals believe in action, maybe a better word. Beliefs get in the way of knowing. That's interesting. Beliefs
Correct. Yeah, there's some green language right there in belief. Be lie.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time. Yeah. Stop dreaming can be replaced with stop living in darkness because it conflicts Neville Goddard's work, New Age teachings. Huh. Thanks, Shanna. Oh, good, fit strong. Right now, commitment in the great work is sharing you guys' teachings. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That's great. Appreciate that.
Okay. Holy crap, Will. This is like, wait a minute. I have gotten so excited about green language because it's fun. I enjoy it. In fact, I went and read some Shakespeare because as an actor, I love Shakespeare. And then he's the bard, the bird. Oh my God, that kind of thing, right? So that's exciting to me. But then now my whole, I have to break down, get rid of, revamp my entire teachings of what I teach to powerhouse leaders. Everything I'm teaching, powerhouse, originally physical powerhouse, because I started it in the 80s working with Controlology, which was Joseph Pilates' work of the body to control and turn on the internal powerhouse. Qigong, Tai Chi, if you do any of that, your internal dantians, that's your power center. But then your subconscious mind is your powerhouse. So I created Powerhouse Leaders because, I believe in leaders and I want to support leaders because I know how hard they work and they don't sometimes take care of themselves. So that was my whole paradigm in my business. And it's like, I did it based off of quantum and quantum touch and quantum this and missing major pieces. And knowing that I'm missing that makes me think that I'm missing so much more as a result now. Do you know what I mean?
Correct. It would be like looking at the Hermetic principles and you're talking about mentalism, but you're not talking about the other 7 principles, right? This is what The Secret, Rhonda Byrne's, in the early 2000s, it was all the rave when The Secret came out. It was extremely powerful and people resonated with it because there is truth that's encoded in there, but there is so much left out. So much that is left out that it is misdirection, 100%, right? It's just rooted in relativism and solipsism. And, fast forward 20 years later, and all these people were like, oh, I didn't manifest the $1 million that I wanted using the secret technique and the law of attraction. That's because the law of attraction is natural law. It's the Hermetic principles and how they apply to the self and to life and to each other. It's a very, very common go-to tactic that the social engineers use. They do it in religion, right? They put a grain of truth in there because truth is eternal. It's timeless. This is why cultural religions can last, throughout ages. And people can resonate with it on the superficial level, on the exoteric, on the outside. But yet, once you start diving into the esoteric, you get closer to that core of truth, but you also unveil all the lies that are wrapped around it as well. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's expansive.
I really thought, oh, well, we'll have a nice episodes and we'll teach people this is like, and we'll share and because I'll ask you some questions and this is crazy, crazy. Our world is crazy.
Yes, it is. It very much is. Now, I want to say this too, because we've talked a lot about this. 100% absolutely, the condition, the human condition, the planet is enslaved. That doesn't have to be like that, but the majority of people are choosing that and they're being taken advantage of. So that is the current condition. Now, just because physically I am enslaved in reality, in the world, I am not mentally slaved, right? I have unslaved myself and unslaved myself in body as much as possible as well. That's an ongoing process. So, yes, we are walkers in the worlds, like the bird, the sky, the earth, the water. So, even though there is slavery amidst, right, I still need that peace inside me. The social engineers are claiming slavery externally. They will not have it internally in my body or my mind, right? So that's one thing to keep to kind of remember, like we were talking about. Although through all the hardships and the pain and the death and the injustice, we still need to take care of our mind, body, and spirit to the best of our ability. And the question becomes, to what end, right? For what? The purpose, the meaning. This is where personalized practice comes into play and is vital. So important. I've seen so many people, start doing the one great work, or they go public and then they get burned out. I've gotten burned out before. We all get burned. We get burned out at some point, for sure. The question becomes, do you retract, adapt, pivot, and move forward? So that's what
Okay.
the true definition of legacy is, right? It's a course
Mhm.
of action and commission that you are leaving behind.
So it's my great pleasure to do all of this publicly for you all so you can see me completely in the depths of despair and still showing up and know that you are not alone and you can do this work and you must do this work. And I will be here. Clearly, Will is here, willing to. And I believe, I don't know if the work will ever be done. So now I know my takeaway for today, the three pieces of Socrates, which honestly, I have a beef with Socrates. I really, really don't like the whole Aristotle, Socrates, the Stoics, and all of them, because my gosh, I think they were the slavers. They were enslavers. And yet, right, it was totally twisted. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, they were statists. They
But
definitely believe in government.
and then yeah, so all that Alexander the Great, the evil. So okay, there's that. I'm just gonna leave that. But I like the useful, and I like, is it true and is it moral? Maybe he got it from somebody who is actually a decent. Anyway, okay, so there's that. And then the second piece is that I've got to let go of having to know it all and thinking that what I know or believe is all of it. And that probably there's going to be a death and a grieving process every day, multiple times a day. And I have to prepare and make provisions to ensure that my soul, my body, my mind are cared for. When I'm saying this for you all of us. This is what we must do. And whether that's to create a community, and I'm wondering, folks that have been continuing to be with us, What would that look like if we created a community? Is that a healthy thing to do? Or is that just more going and creating a community? Blah, blah, blah. Or is it something like, no, we all can support each other. We know from a place of care and intention. I want to exactly the definition you used for education. That's the best I have ever heard. I will use that from now on, and I will make sure I communicate that, not the word education, because that's been destroyed. That's been made into something that is not healthy, I believe.
Yes, it's trendy and overused. So people have their own, perceived definition they attach with it.
And then it goes all the way back to the beginning of green language, which is the word and the symbols. And all of this is connected. So I drew this big lemniscape as you were talking. It's like, okay, this is what it is. We're on this lemniscape, or this infinity experience. And I have to remember this. I would tell my clients, okay, you feel uncomfortable. It's like life is a lemniscape, right? It's an infinity symbol on its side. And things get like you run into a problem, you see a problem, and then you're like, oh, this is really tough. Ooh, this is painful. This experience is rough. And then you kind of understand it and you figure it out. It's like, oh, this is so much easier. Woohoo! Boom, you run into another problem. And I mean, I use that as an analogy every day with my clients in the life of business and leading their families and leading that. And I still believe in that, because I'm going to go back and lead my family and love on my children and love, my cat and be and take care of my flowers and my plants. And I'm going to do that without any guilt or shame, or that I should be out doing something else, because this is my work. So every day for the rest of my breath, I will come live on Fridays, on Mondays, and I will share something, whether that's with you, Will, or with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have to do. Is that enough? I don't know, but I'm committed to that right now for until I can see a better way. And doing the work. So I hope each of you have some specific takeaways for today. Wow.
Beautifully said. Yeah, you nailed it right there. Absolutely.
You're so encouraging and so supportive, Will. I really appreciate you, sincerely.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
Love
interesting
you,
enough, that infinity symbol, if you flip it vertically, that is the torus. That's the negative image of a torus field, which the torus field is the dielectric field, magnetism, which is the aura of everything, of an apple, of a human being, of an animal, right? So synchronicity, it is everywhere.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, so let's honor the chat for a moment. Can you really trust a teacher in this system who's not a promoter of the trivium method?
Great point. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll comment on that. That's a fantastic point, right? When there's so many influencers out there, podcasters, I mean, really a dime a dozen. The question comes into, what is their message? What's the information that they are talking about? Then you can go to those 3 states, right? If they're not talking about the causal factors, if they don't know the trivium is the true scientific method. It is the method of critical thinking and truth discovery. So yes, but also understand that you can learn bits and pieces from anyone. Take what you need, what is useful to you, like we were talking about Socrates, or Plato, or whatever it may be, Donald Trump. You could take information from any individual that could potentially be useful. So,
but see, that's the thing. What a waste of time. I don't want to scroll and waste my time doing that. I'm calling myself on it. Okay, because I don't want to do the work. But there's so many, like you said, misdirections and distractions. So the work is to weed through all this BS. Just let's get to it already. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
okay, so
you need to
right
pick and choose. It's mental diet.
Okay.
Right? Or
probably most people, yes. Probably most people already know Mark Passio, number 1, Will Keller, number 2, And then perhaps on the One Great Work, that's kind of,
Absolutely.
there's like a ton of content on there. So, that I just, when I was skimming through, I was like, okay, that initiation thing just hit me. And so I don't think Scott was the other one that I looked at because I recognized him because of Scientology. Other than that, it's like, we have to distill this. We have to get to it. We don't have time to distill and learn from Trump. Really? I mean, I don't care one way or the other. I'm not political or whatever, but because I grew up in New York in the 80s and he was all around and I met him and it's like, ick, just ick. It's like reality TV. That is the absolute, as an actor, that is the reality TV, complete narcissist, masculine, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Besides
absolutely. Yeah,
politics, besides president, besides anything else, it's
for
just
sure.
like, oh my Lord.
Yes.
You know,
My point being is that you could take bits of information from people. Now,
you could, but
would you invest your time into watching all
that,
of Donald Trump? No, that would be ridiculous. So yes, people need to ask themselves, where are they spending their time and attention on? And if they have a podcast that they watch on a consistent basis and they're spending, a couple hours a day or a few hours a week watching this person, why? Why are you? Do they have something useful for you? Are they talking about the causal factors? Do they have the trivium or natural law? If they don't, yes, move on to the next person, right? But understanding that staying stuck on or rigid and not seeing others as potential pieces of information is another polarization tactic.
so I get that. And I realize, thank you, you're correct, in polarization. I can see myself swinging on that polarization. And then I know I can step out of it and exteriorize and go, okay, and let that swing the other way and not be affected by it. I have definitely been polarized this week, no question, because I didn't ensure I was taking care of myself, family issues, moving, blah, 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 blah. Dennis, I see you. Thank you. You're amazing. We had an interview this week and I'll post that. Dennis, Will. Dennis,
I know Dennis. Good seeing you, brother.
He wants to say hi. Okay. My hope for folks is that they can start to understand that this whole journey is a process. There is no checklist, one and done. You can try to put checklists in. I would love to. I love checklists. I love standard operating procedures. I would love to have the formula more than anything. And perhaps some of us can get to that point where there is some semblance of a standard operating procedure. And I don't mean just putting your stuff out on social media. I mean living this, because I could care. No, I do care. That's why I'm here. But at the end of this hour, I will shut my laptop off and I will have to go live my life. And I have to do that in a healthy, whole way so that I can come back and show up or do things and communicate to people. And I think that ultimately that's the one great work.
Absolutely.
It's not just showing up and putting your stuff out there and whatever. It's in every moment. How I treat my cashier, how anyone in our lives, our family, our most beloved, our animals, our everything, our environment, how are we treating them? How are we showing up and treating our own property, our own clothing, our own body? Are you taking care of that? Are you doing the things that you need to do? I realize I was caught in that polarity of, oh my gosh, I just have to do it all. I have to show up even though I don't feel like, okay. I am totally dramatizing all of the manifestation of someone in the arena. And I think Will is like putting ammonia on the cut right here or whatever it is. Like he's waking me up with ammonia. Thank you. I'm awake. Oh my God.
Salts.
Smelling salts. Smells like ammonia. and like fixing my cut here and like, okay, you can do it, Stefana. Get back out there. You can do it. Let's go. This is what it is. And it's so necessary and vital to have someone. I like Will. How do we get more of you? How do we get more of that? Because I wouldn't be here 6, 7, 8 weeks later on this journey and getting stronger. I feel like I'm getting stronger, even though right now in this moment is really a dark place for me right now. Because of one, do we stop watching the news? 100% off.
Oh yeah, I don't watch the news at all.
Okay, well, not even just that news. I mean, like the dark journalist. Don't ever watch him on Friday night again. Don't ever watch like the stuff that's coming out. This whole thing with, I can't believe I didn't know. So apparently Hitler was in Argentina, and then all of these things. Just to stay away from all of that. Don't do any of that, right?
Well,
don't watch any of Ike. Don't do any of that. The Tartarians. Don't do any of that. Do you know what I'm saying? The NDEs, the non-dead, near-death experiences, all of that, is that all just distraction, misdirection?
Well, not necessarily, right? So again, it's not one wing or the other. It's the middle path, right? So there's a balance there. I catch up on current events on Sunday evenings because I watch Grand Theft World. Fantastic podcast. Shout out to Richard Grove. And I also produce it on the network. But that's how I catch up on current events. And I commit to that investment of time, right? I think it is good to have certain, a certain knowledge of information of what is going on. They're very non-biased. It's not left or right. They understand natural law and freedom. So it's a great investment of my energy. So again, that middle path is seeking truth, speaking truth. The middle is teaching, seek, process, put that information out. So I have times where I take in, huge amounts of, not huge, but good portions of woo or skepticism, potential stuff that I can't verify myself, right? But that's very minute into my goal, my purpose, right? So it's different for every person. There is a solution. There is a correct answer of what is going on in the world. We need to understand that first, and then we need to act on that. What we do on our spare time, if it benefits us, if it is useful, so be it. Right? I'm always going to remain a truth seeker to, engage and gather a deeper understanding of nature, of natural law. But I am wise on what I take in. So, and I make that choice, and then I own it. If I'm going to binge watch a series of Outlander, so be it. Then I own that, right? I'm going to decompress. I'm going to watch this, tap into my Eros archetype and dream a little bit. But we are human on this journey. So, like you were saying so elegantly, that we do need to take care of ourselves. The question is, what is your outcome? Right? You have to have that authenticity and that proof. So when we go to the underworld and we meet Ma'at and she puts our heart on the scale, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna drop like a rock?
I think we can do that on a daily basis, not from
Absolutely.
a punishing way, not from a shaming, blaming, any of that kind of way, but just a gentle, loving way. And I think that that's what I'm going to practice this week. So
personalized practice.
And
exactly.
I'm going to use that, and I'm going to that's how we're going to end tonight. Thank you so much. Unbelievable. As usual, you're just phenomenal. And
likewise, it's always a pleasure.
The wind beneath my wings.
There
I'm
you
going
go.
to be a bird this week. I'm totally going to practice this. I love those analogies. I love that. Oh my gosh, that was brilliant. I don't know if we actually covered exactly but I'm just trusting. Next week, we're going to play. I want to bring back the Hermetic principles. And I want to see, because you basically said all of them tonight. You said all of them.
Yes, we touched on
in everything. So I want to bring them back on that. I want to understand, and I would like a little bit more precision on step by step of what. And as I'm asking this, No. We'll discuss, and I'll ask
Sure.
you, and you'll say, do we have to have, is there a system? Can there be a way that there is a better system for us to understand? Like, I do need a checklist, right?
Mhm.
I am going to go and study. Folks, he gave me the assignment. He didn't literally give me the assignment. He said, demystifying the occult is an important presentation. I just started watching that one, and it is
Excellent.
really good. And in the first like 15 minutes, he talks about the 20 things. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
we can
so
do a
good.
checklist. If you want to see a
I
checklist,
need checklists.
let's do it.
I'm a checklist girl. I need checklists. Okay.
I love it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being so supportive and wonderful here. I so appreciate you, Will, beyond anything I can. I have your fig plant. I already bought it. I'm bringing it to you when I can. The
Oh, that's
fig
awesome.
tree. Okay. I've been taking care of her for 3 years, but since I'm moving, she's going to you.
Well, she's coming to a great home. I love
Yay!
figs.
I'm so excited.
I appreciate that.
Plus the Jenny Kiwi we'll bring too.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. Please reach out for sure to willkeller.com. He's got a great, like, you can go to his website and you can chat with him right there. For me, stefanajohnson.com. And you can always email me, stefana@stefanajohnson.com. I am here. I am willing to communicate. I'm a little raw, so if you're going to bash me, probably won't respond. But if you have genuine care and want to collaborate, or want, like, I want to support you, and I'm sure you have some amazing things. Everyone I've heard in the chat, clearly intelligent, competent, wise people. Thank you. And we're out. Thank you, Will, since you're
My
running.
pleasure. Thanks for joining, y'all.